Hello and welcome to the SEANCE. I'm surrounded by my lovely companions that will help us along on our journey into the abyss. Are ghosts real? Oh, Lammy. Are ghosts real? It's a question that's plagued our existence for a very long time. Oh, do we believe in ghosts? Is that a tangible thing? I mean, like, are we human beings just sort of batteries that just die eventually? And then what? Is there an afterlife? What's our future hold exactly? And honestly, why are there no naked ghosts? Why are there no naked ghosts? I find that often in times like these where you really truly cannot reach a conclusion, it's best to turn to movies.
My job is to explain the unexplainable, untangle the truth from the fiction. You don't have to have your life ruled by superstitious fear.
That's right. Movies. Okay, so when you think of ghost movies, you're probably thinking of like some ridiculous, mindless nonsense where someone walks into a haunted house and immediately becomes violently ill, possessed by the literal devil, and then attacked, like, physically by a ghost. It seems to me, and I think you would all agree, that a lot of the ghost movies that we see these days are all about extreme stuff. It's all about, like, the craziest ghost story you ever heard. The ghost literally kills people. The demon monster, like, haunts people for their entire lives and makes them, like, do ridiculous things. I mean, we've all heard the story. It feels like every horror movie, at least to some extent, even if it doesn't intend to, seems to be trying to top each other. Really, I don't think that's why we watch ghost movies. I think we watch ghost movies with the question, like, are ghosts real? And if they are real, like, what do they mean to us? What does that mean for humanity? That's what I want to know. So today, on the stupid YouTube channel I run with my friends, the Stuffed Animals, we're going to talk about some sort of subtle ghost movies that I've seen recently that I feel facilitate this discussion in a lot of ways. Let's get haunting. Oh God, I'm canceled. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is a movie called Ghostwatch. Now, arguably this is not a movie. Arguably this is a BBC special. I was very excited to see this movie because it was played off to be this, like, real thing on TV. They shot this whole news special ahead of time and then told everyone it was live and then put a phone number on the screen and then, like, took calls from the audience during the movie and, like, tricked an entire nation into thinking that this was real and making calls, because this truly is, like, a pretty nutso thing to put on television, which is why it's awesome. So, Ghostwatch follows the investigation of this haunted house where we are led on a journey of skepticism, where we go from, like, people debating about whether or not ghosts are real, obviously, to whether the general public believes in ghosts, what experiences they've had, and then, like, in the actual house, we're led on a journey of skepticism where sometimes we want to believe them and sometimes we don't, and then we want to believe them more and then we don't, and then we want to believe them more, and it just, like, kind of goes in that sort of pattern until you get to a truly haunting ending that you will never forget. So, here's how the movie kind of facilitates this discussion on ghosts, or at least my take on how it does it. Throughout the movie, there's this constant debate going on between whether these people that are having their house investigated on television either really want attention or they just, like, are legitimate victims to some sort of supernatural presence. In a weird way, the movie kind of talks about this debate in a really nuanced way by obviously presenting the skeptic guy as like, well, science says that this is impossible. And then everyone going, well, yeah, that's like the point, like that science says it's impossible and yet here it is. You know, it's like supernatural, but also like the movie talks about science and like how we scientifically study these sorts of things. Like one of the roles of science is to experience like phenomena and then try to understand them, not necessarily like tell us that a phenomenon is not occurring. And then when everybody's like, okay, but what is this? Then there's like, well, you know, science is about measuring the human experience as much as it is about measuring the natural world. And often it's about measuring the relationship between those two things. So in Ghostwatch, here's the situation. This family is actually like really fucked up from this ghost thing. Like really fucked up. They're getting like cut up right in front of the cameras. Like a lot of stuff is going on. Yet there's still this sort of like air of skepticism, like, haha, bullshit. Science says, and it's like, okay, but they're investigating the shit, like right now. Kind of the movie talks about how victimhood is legitimate and we should study that sort of thing, and experience is legitimate. I think that lets our guard down on how we talk about like the paranormal and its existence or non-existence. It facilitates a decent discussion because now we're kind of reduced from that mindset of like, well, it isn't science. Because honestly, science is about asking questions. So we get to have fun now. We get to ask some questions of like the way we perceived ghosts throughout time and how we currently perceive them and what exactly they mean to us. It's cool when we get to ask more questions and learn more. The next movie is a movie I hate. It's called Lake Mungo.
10 days after Ellie's funeral, stuff started happening around the house. Sounds seemed to come from Ellie's old room.
They didn't really relent, so I thought, well, I'll just set up a camera to, see anything. I looked back and there was footage of a figure moving across the hallway.
And I hate it. Okay, I don't hate it, but it is legitimately one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. It's a documentary about a family that is experiencing a death and then ghosts come back. You know, you've seen this movie. They start to do photography around the house and they find like all this distinct evidence of this ghost existing. And it's big spooky because there are photos of ghosts in it. And you're like, whoa, there was a ghost in the photo and I didn't notice. I think that the real strength of the movie is how it like builds our kind of skepticism and suspense until we get to a point where not only do we learn what's going on, but we also learn that there's like this whole dimension to it that we don't understand. And whether or not it's all bullshit, which it is bullshit because it's a mockumentary, it's not actually real. You get to ask yourself a lot of complicated questions at the end of it. And I think that, obviously fiction says a lot about our reality. So I think that this movie takes every opportunity it can to say something about our reality using its fiction. Very cool. Let's talk about that.
The image was quite unsettling because it certainly looked like Alice.
I think if we strip it down to its very bare essentials, Lake Mungo asks a very, very simple question. Why do we believe in ghosts? Like on an emotional level. I'm not talking about like whether or not people had seen them. People would believe in ghosts as a concept if they existed or not. It would have an emotional level to it that we would have to kind of corroborate and understand. Why do we believe in ghosts? Well, often it's to, make us feel secure in there being some sort of afterlife or some sort of thing that happens after you die, and you're not just a dead battery. You don't just fall down and die. Very cool to live after you die. So the family experiences loss and they start seeing their daughter, but like there's also this level of how like they faked a lot of this stuff, and they faked it so they could feel like she was there. Now, of course, the twist is that she actually was. Boo, gotcha. But the important thing is that, like, feeling like they are there is important. It's important to getting closure. It's important to feeling like you can live your life okay. And if people believe in an afterlife or not, if people believe in ghosts or not, it truly is fairly harmless, because at the end of the day, these are people that need it to grieve. So in a sense, on that emotional level, ghosts do exist in our sort of consciousness. The concept exists. The idea of it existing exists. And we get to, like, live with that kind of security if, you know, people feel the need to believe in that. And I've been around a lot of people who have lost loved ones, and then they say they go home and the lights flicker. You know, is that physically, literally a ghost coming into their house to, like, try and make their presence known? Maybe their loved one has returned to try and make them feel just a little bit better by leaving a little bit of suspense in there, so that they can move on with their lives. Or maybe, like, everyone has stories like this because we so desperately want them to be true so that we don't have to worry anymore. Regardless of whichever is true, the literal or like the supernatural, they're both necessary to getting us to just moving on from something as, you know, torturous as losing, you know, a child, a loved one, someone that was an immense energy when they were alive, someone that you have memories with, someone that you have, like, this whole history with. It's impossible to imagine the idea of them just poof, not existing anymore. People are going to believe in that energy continuing throughout time, which is, in my opinion, a fair thing to believe. The third movie is one I'm kind of ambivalent but also excited about, called Ghost Stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Professor Philip Goodman. My job is to explain the unexplainable, untangle the truth from the fiction.
You may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it. It is kind of an indie thing. It's available on a lot of streaming sites, so you should be able to click X in the corner of your screen to make me shut the fuck up and just go watch this shit, because it's really, really fucking cool. The movie, like, in a sort of body, like a spiritual way, the movie's soul is good, and I like it. That was like the dumbest way of putting that, but the movie's soul is one that I can get behind. The movie, maybe, but the movie's soul, I'm here for it. Ghost Stories, my favorite movie soul of the year.
Everything you have spent a lifetime trying to debunk the supernatural. It's all true. 3 cases I couldn't explain. You go and investigate if you dare. Things are not always as they seem.
So the basic plot of Ghost Stories is there's like this skeptic guy who has a TV show where he goes on TV and is like, this person who's saying they're a psychic bullpucky, here's evidence that he's not a psychic. He'll go investigate a haunting and he'll be like, it was Rusty Pipes. Bullpucky, it was just Rusty Pipes, you idiot. But then he meets like one of his heroes, somebody who also was disproving, you know, wild supernatural paranormal claims. And then that guy says, hey, buddy, like, I stopped doing these things and I disappeared because actually it's all true, and like, I have experienced things that have changed my perception. Matter of fact, here are 3 cases that I could not solve that you should go hear about, and they might change your perception as well. It's an anthology film, y'all. So, the skeptic guy goes and meets with 3 individuals who have had supernatural experiences, provable, disprovable aside, like the entire premise of the movie aside, the stories are really fucking scary, y'all. I was watching it with somebody, and we were holding each other in terror for quite a bit of it. The suspense is very intense. The way that they set the stage for these like little scenes is unbelievably cool and haunting and freaky, and God, I liked it very much, and I think you will also like it very much. Okay, let's talk about the vignettes. So like the first one is like this night watchman who see a ghost. Basically, he's in a very, very scary location and he sees a ghost. It's the way that they do it, not what they do. Because like, I feel like that's like kind of a universal thing with ghost stuff, right? Every ghost movie is about how they were living their life fairly normally and then they saw a ghost and it fucked everything up. The second story is my favorite, not just because I'm like really into like the occult and demonology. Hello, yes, go evil. So like this kid is living in this scary house with his scary, weird, possessed parents, and it's really freaky because like he tells the story about how he was driving home late at night one night and then he accidentally hit the devil with his car and then the devil scares him a lot and it like fucks up his life completely and now he's like possessed and shit. It's really quite something, actually. It's real fun and cool and exciting and gnarly. And then the third story is about what's his name? Watson from the Sherlock series. God, holy shit, am I that bad at this? Who was the actor in Ghost Stories?
The cast of Ghost Stories includes Andy Nyman, Martin Freeman,
Damn it!
17
So the third story is Martin Freeman, and he experiences ghostly happenings at his house in his child's nursery, and then it's revealed that like the child died in childbirth, and it's very horrific and very messed up. And the rest of the movie we're not going to talk about because I just want to talk about the kind of general attitude and the questions that the movie brings up. And I also don't want to blow it for you. You should watch the movie. Watch the movie. The ending kind of blows, but you should watch the movie. So I think that this movie also kind of explores the Hegelian sort of sense that ghosts have, where they are both fake and real at the same time, or their fakeness and their realness really isn't the question that one should be asking, because truly they are real to the people that experience them, even if they aren't physically real. There is something real about them. So real, in fact, that it can change and ruin people's lives. We can be skeptics about these sorts of things, and we can say, do ghosts exist or whatever, but we do have to remember that the ghosts, at least in concept, have ruined people's lives forever. Whether that be some sort of manifestation of mental illness, is the paranormal, is just rusty pipes. Regardless of what it is, some people's lives have straight up been ruined by this concept. But also, some people's lives have been enriched by this concept, which is something that I guess I kind of talked about with the Lake Mungo thing. But I think that this gets into the idea that there are tangible consequences and reactions to people experiencing the paranormal. Experiencing something supernatural, as documented sort of throughout human history, we see these stories as like intervention stories. And like we see the paranormal as kind of getting in our life to make a change. There are real world consequences and reactions to seeing a ghost or experiencing the paranormal or hearing the voice of God or whatever, seeing aliens, being abducted by aliens, whatever. It's worth noting that like there are actual actions taken because people have experienced the paranormal. And in that sense, like regardless of the reality of ghosts and if they're real, if they're not real, the consequences and the reactions are legitimate, and the emotional reaction to having done that is legitimate. And to the people that have experienced it, been victimized by it, it's changed their life in some way or improved their life in some way, it's real. It is real to them. And so I guess I kind of want to end off here with a question, going back to that old question. Are ghosts real? I am in no position to speak on the metaphysics of such a thing because, like, I did take a college metaphysics class and I did get an A, and we did talk about things like the human soul and, you know, like fatalism, like are we all destined to whatever. We talked about these sorts of things, but I do not believe that I am in any sort of position of authority to discuss the reality or unreality of that situation. But I do think that, like anything, I think there's a lot to be learned from listening to people who do believe. Just remember that it is about understanding an experience that people are having. Ultimately, I think the problem is right there in the question. Are ghosts real? Yes. As a concept, yes, ghosts are real. They're in our public consciousness. They've been out, like, in our entire human history. And to the people that have claimed to experience them, they are very, 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 very real. Now, are they tangibly real? Is there an actual physical manifestation that is known as a ghost? Jury's out on that. I have no idea. And I don't think that we really are going to have any idea about the validity or invalidity of that for a very long time, if at all. I think that means we need to reframe the question to, what do ghosts do for us? What does the concept of ghosts do for us? And what do they mean to the people that do truly, honestly believe in ghosts and believe in paranormal happening? And what do they mean to us? And what do they mean to culture? And what do they mean throughout history? Honestly, this is why I love watching movies about ghosts. Any movie about ghosts, even bad ones. I typically enjoy it because I get to engage in this discussion of what this could have meant to the people that found meaning in it. It's cool to think about that, actually. I like it, and I hope you like it too. And I hope you like this video. If you did like this video, please let me know by liking the video. Seems redundant, but it isn't. Please do it. My channel's dying and I need help. Also, like, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, or I'd love to hear your stories, or I'd love to hear ghost movies that you like. I'm always looking to watch other things, so cool beans, give me that good ghost content online. If you love this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Could really use it because I just quit my job to work on this full time. That's what I'm doing now. I'm just setting everything aside and I'm just focusing on YouTube because truly I do believe I've been fairly flighty lately and I've been overstressed, I've been overtired, and I've been working myself to death. If I'm gonna be working myself to death, I might as well be doing it on this because I think if I take this more seriously, y'all will be here and notice. Y'all come out every time I upload something and you're excited and it's fun and awesome. I just want you to know that I kind of have a crush on you. Okay, I don't kind of have a crush on you. I'm absolutely in love with you. I don't know what to do about that, but I'm absolutely in love with you. I love you.